I'm an emotional human being. I feel things very strongly. It's one of my superpowers. But the flip side of being an empath is that it's a daily challenge for me to hold it together and keep from going jolly bananas. To be clear, sometimes I get way too turned up. But by the grace of God, the universe, or whatever forces govern the cosmos, so far I've managed to avoid completely losing my shit. Be that as it may, I gotta work hard at regulating my emotions and managing negativity. Being here in Minneapolis with ICE terrorizing my town has required me to work extra hard at upgrading my spirituality game. One tool I use to avoid losing my shit is what's called Bumblebee breathing. This is something I should do as part of my daily meditation routine, but in practice I use it more of a last resort when the 7 seconds or more defense that I covered in an earlier video just isn't enough to keep me from getting too turned up. Here's how you do it. We cover our eyelids with our pinkies. We cover our ear flaps with our thumbs. We lightly rest our ring fingers on our third eye, or approximately in that area. And we also lightly rest the tongue on the roof of the mouth. And we lightly curl our lips in a subtle Mona Lisa smile. And these are things we do to engage the higher mind and subordinate the lower mind. We will take a deep breath in, and then on our exhale, we will hum or bumble like a bee. Let's do a sample breath. And we'll do that for about 4 to 7 rounds. You'll notice I use different pitches, and that's because using different pitches has a different vibrational effect on the mind and the body. So try different pitches and see what happens. Most people, my woo-woo spirituality friends who practice Bumblebee breathing, they use it as a tool to relax the mind. And just as the body needs rest from physical exertion, so the mind needs rest from thinking. So to be clear, most of us engage in incessant thinking. The mind is constantly running, constantly spinning. That's not healthy. Just like the body needs to rest from working out, the mind needs to rest from thinking. And Bumblebee breathing is a very effective tool for shutting down the thinking mind and stepping into the present moment, the awareness of now, which is the only place to access true intelligence. Other names for this state are presence and stillness. But here's how I actually employ Bumblebee breathing. So for context, my ex-boo, bless her heart, had a tendency, at least she had a tendency to nag me. And sometimes she was relentless. Like she'd be nagging me, and I'd try to walk away, and she'd follow me from room to room like, and I'd have to like step out the house just to get some respite from the nagging. But here's the twist. I live in Minnesota where it gets hella cold in the winter. So sometimes I couldn't walk away. I'd be a captive audience to this nagging, and eventually I'd clap back with something that was low vibrating, definitely not high vibrating. I can say with confidence that whatever I had to say in those moments was low vibrating, and I recognized that this was degrading my consciousness as well as hers. So at some point, instead of clapping back, I just went into a round of Bumblebee breathing. I'd leave the room and she'd be nagging, and I just go, I bet we look ridiculous, but anyway, like I couldn't hear her because I'd be Bumblebee breathing, and more often than not, she'd back off. A couple, 2-3 times though, I'd finish my round of Bumblebee breathing, and I'd look up, open my eyes, she'd still be there nagging, so then I just go back into Bumblebee breathing. And I think the most rounds I ever had to do was 3 rounds before she backed off. And I'm well aware that bumbling like a bee was not the most mature way to handle conflict. But I can assure you that bumbling like a bee in an effort to get my mind right was way better than whatever crap was going to come out of my mouth in those moments. So I encourage you to practice bumblebee breathing for its spiritual benefits. But if you have a spouse or a loved one that sometimes just won't let up or really knows how to push your buttons, try a round of bumblebee breathing. The next time you feel yourself about to go apeshit on them, step off into another room and try a round of bumblebee breathing. What have you got to lose? If you think you look like a fool, trust me, whatever was going to come out of your mouth in those moments is way more foolish than you bumbling like a bee in an effort to get your mind right and manage negativity and regulate your emotions. So give it a try. What have you got to lose? Bumblebee breathing. Thank you for keeping an open mind, and I hope you find this technique helpful. Stay gold, y'all.